Facebook.
Just have the YouTube open.
You see it on YouTube?
Just starting soon.
Okay, so you see it there. Why don't I see it on Facebook?
Yeah, it's the full countdown.
Do you see it on Facebook? Just trying to get it on Facebook. You don't see it on Facebook? I'm just trying to see it on Facebook. Once I see it on Facebook, we can go.
Nah, I'm checking on my phone and I'm checking on the laptop. And I don't see it on Facebook.
You don't see it on Facebook. Wait 1 second. Did you see it on YouTube? We're good on YouTube.
We're good. It's on my TV on YouTube. Yeah.
Alright, give me 1 second.
Did you search the live video has been started? It'll start when the live video. It'll start the live video when the event posted live.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I got the countdown screen on YouTube. It's at a minute and 15 seconds.
Alright, now tell me if you see it now.
On Facebook?
Yep. I just refreshed it.
It says Jerica's live now, so I'm guessing. Yeah, I see it.
It's live? Sounds good.
Here we go.
What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Hope all is well. It's the Tall Boy Experience. Man, it's been a long time since I've actually been live. But you know what? Today, I think it was only fitting that I did this because we're talking politics and we have an election that's coming up real soon. And I want to make sure that we talk local politics. So I think what it is we know that there's a big election on November 3rd for the president and for the senators and the Congress and the judges, but you know what? There's some other politics or some other positions that are open that we need to pay attention to. And you know what? I have one of those candidates here that's actually running for one of those seats, and she's got to earn it, but we're going to see if she's qualified. Why does politics really matter with her? and what got her into it, and what she plans to do if she becomes the next Cobb County Commissioner. Okay, so I know I live in the city of Atlanta, but Cobb County is right next to it, and we want to be able to make sure that these politicians, we know who they are and what they're doing for their community. So without further ado, this young lady, she hails from New Orleans. Oh my God, not a true ATLian, but she graduated from Atlanta. She's an author of 2 books, and I'll find out those 2 books in 1 second. I think in 2016 she released Life Philosophies LP 25, and when she was 16 she released Soul Ending. So I'm pretty sure she'll be smiling in 1 second. She graduated from Georgia Tech, and I'm gonna let her tell you about all those great things about her. She was Miss Teen Georgia. Let me see, what else can I tell you about her. She's on the Democratic ticket, and from my understanding, and we're gonna get into this, she's really big into the weather, and I think she had something to do with humidity inhibitors, shall we say, and I think she told somebody that Hurricane Katrina was coming to New Orleans, and people laughed her out of the room, but it actually happened, and now that's kind of what brought her to Atlanta, and so we're glad to have her. And without further ado, let me see if I can get her on my screen. We have, oh my gosh, I'm struggling here. We have Miss Jerica Richardson, Cobb County Commissioner candidate. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, Corey. So good to hear you.
So I don't really want to tell everybody like your whole background, but we're gonna dive into that a little bit today, and I wanna, we're gonna pick your brain. So, so how are you doing first?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a good day. Busy, but really good day.
All right, so you have a campaign that's coming up, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But how are you dealing with COVID, shall we say? Are you masking up when you go out? Are you going door to door? Are you still just doing everything online? Can you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, I'll try to skip the politics on COVID, because I think what's happening right now is just horrible. But personally, yes, I'm masking up everywhere I go. Not really going very many places. I pretty much go grocery shopping once every month and a half. That's what I've gotten it down to. And my immediate family, my parents, my grandmother, it's all about them. I want to be able to see them every week. I go up to my parents' house in Kennesaw every Sunday, say hello, and I want to make sure I'm doing what I need to do during the week so that I'm not carrying anything to them. But yeah, I mean, COVID, it's had so much of an impact on our community. Me personally, I've been able to, my job has been secure in this pandemic, but that's not true for everybody. And it's really just listening to all the stories right now and trying to make ends meet wherever, big connections happen. If there's a job or a job connection, I can do that. If there's some kind of information I can give to someone, if there's, influence that I can wield, that's what I'm busy doing right now during this pandemic, because it's rough. It's rough right now for so many, not just economically, but health-wise, safety-wise, knowing what to do with your kids. Just there's so much right now. So
yeah, that's what's up. Well, hold on. What I want to do is I want to bring in one of my good friends. He is an entertainment music executive, and when I tell you this guy, how do I say this? We're not talking music today, but we're going to bring a little bit of music in, but we talk politics, and I mean, we go back and forth and back. I mean, we go back at it over and over, and we're always talking about local elections and why it's so important. And just a little brief rundown on this, gentleman. If you are from the old school, if you love the Whispers, if you love Shalimar, Climax, if you love Dynasty, If you love Tamar Braxton, he's worked with all of them. Jeffrey Osborne, Peebo Bryson, Howard Hewitt, you name it. This gentleman is very well connected in the music industry. But we're not going to talk about music per se, but we'll tie a little bit of it in. But we're going to talk politics, but we want to see how is it the artist's responsibility, shall we say, to inform their fans on politics, but we had to bring in an executive. And without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce Mr. Terrence Marquez Gaines. I'm sorry, Marquez Gaines. Well, I didn't call you something else, man. I'm sorry, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm good, tall boy. I'm happy to be here. But I was about to look around. I was like, who else is on here? Terrence? Terrence who we got? Terrence Howard? What's going on?
So how you doing today, my man? You doing okay?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's a pleasure to be here and to speak with a candidate for Cobb County, seeming how I have some family in Cobb County and a couple of my clients live in Cobb County. So I'm very interested to have a discussion with Miss Richardson today.
All right. So with that being said, I got both of you guys on my screen. And first and foremost, Jerica.
Yes, sir.
Why do you want to run for Cobb County Commissioner?
So I like to approach doing things. One, I'm a problem solver. Okay, that's like who I am. That's what I do. But if I'm going to run for a position or take up a job or take up a project, it's going to be in an area where I know I can make a real impact, an impact that is long lasting, that is sustainable, that means something, that actually solves real problems. And so in the journey to politics, I'm sure we'll dig into a little bit, but really just appreciate the significance of the decisions that are made in these positions. They impact so many people. And when you have someone that truly represents people and where they come from and how they think, then you can have someone that can draw in people, that can bring people together, that can bring in different perspectives and look at some of these things holistically, some of our problems holistically, and come up with real solutions. And that is what I saw as a real opportunity for the Cobb County Commission. When you think about Cobb County, there's so much that's incredible about the county in terms of the people, the communities, the lifestyle, the schools. So much is an attraction for Cobb County. And when you look at kind of where we're going, there are a lot of changes that are coming into the county, a lot of new people, there's a lot more diversity. And for me, that gets me very, very, very excited because I understand that when going through a transition, if people feel fearful and uncertain, it doesn't work out that well. But when you have, when change is there and you have someone there that's willing to connect, listen, and use acts of kindness and love, then you have a real opportunity to lead. And that's what I see for Cobb County, that with all of the changes, people are questioning their sense of home, right? Home is about steadiness, it's the people that you know, it's the school you go to. But when you're able to preserve that idea of home for those that are currently here and those that have yet to come, that's some real magic. That's a real opportunity to drive us into the future.
Okay, so let me ask you, because a lot of folks do not know. We know the mayor, we know what the governor, we know what the president does, but a lot of people may not know what is the role of the Cobb County Commissioner. And it has a very powerful position that a lot of people may not know, but we want to hear it coming from you. What is it that you're running for, and what would be your responsibilities or your duties?
Right. So great question. And I say that because when I discovered the full answer of it, it was empowering for me. So I always encourage people that once I tell you what the county commission does, tell some other people too, because it's very empowering. So in Cobb County, I had to dig through Georgia code, but the way that the Cobb County Commission is set up is there are 5 county commissioners, 4 district seats, and 1 chair. And the chair is elected by the entirety of the county. But all 5 have an equal weight in their vote. All issues that come to the county commission all 5 of them vote equally. And so what are some of these issues? And what are some of the areas of influence that county commissioners have? So county commissioners are primarily responsible for setting the budget, setting the millage rate, which is your property tax rate, and hiring a county manager and working in conjunction with all of the departments that fall under that. And when you, in a summarized version, it's all the logistics of a county. But this includes public safety, like policing, fire, emergency 911 services, also your access to your water, power, the quality of your soil and your air, and code enforcement along those lines, affordable housing and housing, economic development and community development, how the municipal bonds are issued, all the distribution of federal and state grants, all the libraries and parks, transportation and mobility projects and how that gets invested in, your zoning, how you do zoning and the zoning plans. All of those things, and there are a lot more, right? How we correspond with the military. We have a military base here as well. All of those things fall under the county commission seat. 5 people. 5 people. So every decision takes 3 to agree.
And so currently it's a Republican led commission. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Marquez, jump in if you want. Because I'm about to go in.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, so right now, the current seat, the current commission looks like what? Like, what is the buildup? How many Democrats, how many Republicans?
There's 1 Democrat and 4 Republicans.
and you're challenging a Republican?
I am for the general, but the incumbent it announced his retirement. Actually, he announced his retirement a couple months ago, but he had his retirement speech today. So he's District 2 commissioner, and he will not be in the office anymore. So there is someone else that is running for that position on the Republican side, and I will be going head to head.
And I believe his name is Fitz Johnson. Is that correct?
It sure is. It sure is.
Okay. So let's go back a little bit. Let's find out, because people don't really know who Jerica Richardson is, shall we say? So let's go a little bit. Let's go way back. All right. So, I'm gonna go way back on you. So it is what it is. But I think people need to know who they're dealing with. So.
Absolutely.
Let me see if I can find you real quick. Give me 1 second. So what I have on in my hand, shall we say, your dad is a good friend of mine, shall we say, because he was my coach in college. Now, I don't live in Cobb County, so I don't vote, but I will support you. But I'm going to also challenge you on what the Republican, Mr. Johnson, has as well. But from my understanding, your dad was a basketball player at my alma mater, which is his alma mater as well. And from my understanding, you were born on the day that he had a game.
Yes.
And from my understanding, your godfather is the coach, or the legendary coach, Tim Floyd. Mm-hmm. And your name Jerica came from, if I get this right, don't beat me up if I get it messed up, but Jim and the Holograms from the USA, from the Cartoon Network. And I think they had a character called Jerica, played by Brita Phillips, and I think she owned a orphanage, and she was the co-owner of the Starlight Music as well, and the Starlight Foundation, and her alter ego was a glam rock star. So can you tell us a little bit how you are, your alter ego, and who you are per se? Can we talk about that a little bit?
We can talk about that a little bit. So, okay, Jim, yes, my mother saw the show, and I usually describe her as business lady by day and rock star superhero by night. Very consistent. I did a little bit. Definitely pursued business. Definitely pursued working with people, helping people in the nonprofit space and in the political space. But at night, when I was younger, I went full on looking into the music industry. I sing, I write, and definitely pursued a couple of different genres in that area. So my stage name was actually Jim. It was I had it shorthand for Jerica M Mask.
Okay. Now the now the second part that I have is you were really big into weather. You were a junior meteorologist. Um, you can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think you did an interview with Mr. Michael Hill, a very popular news reporter in New Orleans, who's now moved on to New Jersey, and you kind of predicted hurricanes and stuff like that. So can you tell us a little bit about that backstory?
Yeah, Corey, you've done your homework.
Hey, it's the Tall Boy Experience. You don't see that on top of your screen?
I love it. I love it. So, yeah, the night before sixth grade, actually, that kicked all of the weather stuff off. It was a really bad storm. And I went to my mother and I said, oh my gosh, I'm never going to start middle school. She said, Jerica, go to sleep. Just shut up and go to sleep. And when I woke up, it was gorgeous outside, absolutely beautiful. And if you know the storms in New Orleans, they're pretty bad. So I was quite nervous, but it was so different in the morning. And I said, well, what happened? And she said, well, you should look it up. You should go find out. And so that began several years worth of a journey of reading, and I became addicted to the Weather Channel, and just really started studying all kinds of things about the weather. And every time we had a science fair, I would ask a science question that I wanted to solve based on some question that I had. So I started the first year was around kinetic energy and what temperature really represented. And then it was about the speed of molecules. By the time I hit my first year in high school, I had put together this question around, I saw this strange correlation that was taking place between humidity, the duration of a storm, and the heaviness of the rain. And in New Orleans, we had really strong sedimentary problems because they call it the bowl, because every time it rains, it floods, and they turn the pumps on, and the sediment would get more and more and more compact, making the soil really, really impermeable. And so it never allowed the soil to breathe. So the city kept sinking on the inside. So I knew this was a really big problem. And when I looked at that trend, it was kind of, an opportunity to say, hey, what if we could make it rain a little bit lighter so it wouldn't flood, give the soil some chance to recover, and so on and so forth. So I did this experiment with the humidity trend. And when I got the results, it was pretty much a straight line, a direct correlation. And so I went to the teacher, I'm also a pretty bad procrastinator. So it was time for me to turn in my report, and I waited to the last minute to do my bibliography, which is where you find things that validate what you found in your research. And well, I couldn't find anything that validated, that I could cross-reference to validate what I found. And so I went to the teacher. I said, I'm sorry, I couldn't find any other test that reproduced what I created. And she said, well, then cite yourself. I said, okay. So I had citations for all the other aspects, but for that particular question that I was solving that year, I didn't have anything but to cite my previous research. So long story short on that, I wound up writing a letter to Congressman Jefferson, Senator Landrieu, and asked for them to provide me with some research space so that I could test it beyond some tap water, cups, and a microwave, because that is not sufficient for real testing. And 4 days before Katrina hit, I got a call from Congressman Jefferson saying, yeah, it sounds like I'm reading the letter. This looks really good. I'm going to give you some space at Tulane. You do your research there, and we're going to get these professors, but you didn't ask for a patent attorney. You need a patent attorney. And I said, okay, sounds good. 4 days later, I was on someone else's sofa in Atlanta with nothing but my family and our hopes. So that's pretty much how that weather story went. And I wound up getting on the news here in Atlanta, actually, talking about it, but they turned it into more of a, look, there's someone from New Orleans story, as opposed to a, hey, can we try to get some more interest into this research? Because it could hypothetically dial back some of the potency of hurricanes if it proves to be true.
Marquez?
That's very interesting because I was born and raised in New Orleans, and our hurricanes are pretty legendary. I too lost everything in Hurricane Katrina, so I definitely get that. But in order for you to have that mindset, in order for you to have that access, I'm assuming that you went to a very, very good school.
I did go to a really good school for high school, but I've always been curious in general. I mean, even when I got on the news in New Orleans, I remember we were watching the BET Awards, and Liz Reyes called. My parents didn't know who was on the phone with me, but I wrote a letter, because one of the things my parents always told me is, you can be what you want to be. You can strive to become what you want to be. So even when I encountered other people that were saying, whatever they were going to say, it didn't matter, because I'm a child of God. I can do all things. And so that was the underlying belief. And with regards to high school, I went to Benjamin Franklin, which is an incredible school in terms of how they, provide resources for the students, magnet program for math and science, and for music and art. And the funny thing about that, though, is actually when I came up from Katrina to start school at North Springs, I remember sitting in the counselor's office. He looked at me, he said, well, we can't find the servers. We can't get access to the servers in New Orleans, so we're just going to give you grades. And I was on track to be, valedictorian, salutatorian at Benjamin Franklin, but when I came here, I don't even know if I graduated in the top 10%. They just gave me grades.
Wow.
So it didn't matter. It didn't matter what effort or work I put in.
So let me ask you here. So how old were you when all of this happened?
16.
So you were 16 when all of that happened. Is that correct?
Katrina, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then you moved to Atlanta, and so now you're starting to put your ATL roots down, shall we say. I know you put your Atlanta roots, and you're starting to say, hey, this is what it is, and you go over to what high school?
North Springs.
North Springs. And then from there, I think you went on and you participated in a competition that you would like to talk about?
I did Miss Teen Georgia.
So you were Miss Teen Georgia. So how did you do with that? So I'm trying to get people an understanding of who you are, what you're all about, how you're from New Orleans, but you're starting to lay down your roots, shall we say.
I played basketball, and I don't remember exactly how I got the idea for the pageant, but one of the things that was interesting was I knew Trump had actually owned the pageants, and I had a gut feeling he was going to run for office. And wanted to see if there was some way that I could do some influencing there as well. I mean, I really believe that anything is possible. So if you can package a real idea and ship it off, this looks like I was wrong in the way that this panned out. But at the time, I thought that would be an interesting thing. Plus, I was very much a tomboy. So gave me good posture when I went to go participate in the pageant. And definitely the idea of going out on stage, and it was different for me, but I definitely learned a lot in that experience. And there's a strong mentality that whatever it is that you're aspiring to become, that you should be that as you're doing the aspiration, that you should exhibit the traits and the qualities that you hope to display in that position even before you get there. And so that was one of the things, definitely. I remember at that time, the reigning queen, she had said, if you're competing to win, you're still going to be competing to win. When you participate in this pageant, you have to approach it as though you're already the queen, and then you'll be the queen. So that stuck with me. That did stick with me.
So now we're going to move forward. You're 16, you move to Atlanta, go to North Springs High School, and then from there you go off to college. And then when you go off to college, you go to Georgia Tech, am I correct?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that experience and how you started to navigate your way through Georgia Tech, shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech, it's incredible. I honestly didn't know about it though when I first came here. You have to remember, I was thinking Harvard, Cornell, Yale. That's kind of the conversation that would take place when you were in at Franklin. And so when I arrived, or when I came here, and we were looking at colleges, one of the things my mom had said, she was like, you should look at Benjamin Franklin. And I had aspirations to become a neurosurgeon. I wanted to, do surgery on the brain, but I also wanted to invent things that could work with the psychology of all of the impacts when you have brain surgery. I wanted to have like a dual practice. And so I was looking at going into biology and into medical school. And someone my mother had a conversation with had said, engineering is interesting because biology can be kind of limiting on the other side. You kind of have to be a doctor. If you change your mind, you're in trouble. And so she said, look into engineering. And so I did. Biomedical engineering is where I landed. It was biomed, pre-med, and pre-law. And the pre-law came a little bit later, but biomed and pre-med is what I started off with at Georgia Tech. And that honestly was an interesting, I gained a lot of different experiences being at Tech because it is, like I said, an incredible school. That was actually where I wrote the second book, and also kicked off the Georgia Tech Leadership Initiative as a part of my time being Tech. There was a period, I write, right before sophomore year, I liked to write, but I really didn't like reading because I have a very short span at times. And so reading was a little bit difficult. But one day I was just thinking, reading, I'm limiting myself from so much knowledge that is out there in the world because so much knowledge is now transcribed, right? The same way that you can access YouTube and learn something very quickly, that same kind of knowledge, but think of just years and years and years and years of expertise just hiding away in books. And here I am deciding not to read. And so I made a commitment that I was going to read everything I saw that day. And I did. By the end of that summer, I actually got through about 48 books. And then when I went back to school for the summer, after I already started this organization and started teaching what I had learned in these books. And that became the core of a leadership curriculum that I had established. And the actual content gained quite a bit of popularity. It gained quite a bit of credibility, and it was very interesting. And so when we had a new president come in and he announced that leadership was going to be an extremely important thing for Georgia Tech, I said, this is the chance. This is the chance to make sure that all of the brilliance and talent that's within Georgia Tech, that we really drive towards being the technology leaders of the 21st century. I thought that was an unclaimed mantle that we could really own. And so I worked with the new hire in the leadership, in that leadership capacity at the department. And we sat together and they hired me, and I helped to build out exactly what it was going to look like. And so we launched a program called GT Startup, which became the precursor for the Georgia Tech Leadership Initiative. It was the pilot, in a sense, the pilot program. And so in that program, I taught, again, those leadership lessons. We had case studies, we had guest speakers, and we had an initial class, because at this point I was a senior, so it was nearing my end of my time there. But we had a starter class that came in, and all of them, freshmen and sophomores, were able to identify what they wanted to do in life, start pursuing it, and close some kind of opportunity that, whether it was an internship or a research project or a company or some kind of investment, they were all able to capitalize on what they had learned in those sessions.
So with that being said, all of these great things, you forgot to mention the Society of Step that you had me show up to, and it was a disaster in the beginning, but then it turned out to be a fruitful one. But you also earned the Alvin M. You was also a recipient of the Alvin M. First Award. So briefly, can you tell them real brief, because I want to start getting into these questions. Real brief about the Society of Step, and then talk about you being the recipient of this Alvin M. First Award.
I'm so glad you brought up Society of Step. So that organization that I talked about where I came back and taught that initial set, that was Society of Step. And the vision behind it was this idea that initially the step dance that a lot of our groups did, my parents, my dad's a Q, my grandmother, my aunt, they're Deltas, and they took me to a step show when I was really young, and I was always inspired by stepping. And so I did some research on really where it originated from, and gumboot dancing was just a very powerful tool of communication that was used in some of the parts of Africa where there was a lot of mining taking place. And that was how they communicated with one another in order to take back their area. It was really inspirational. And so I thought of creating an organization that represented the idea of people coming together, working in unison and in synchronicity, right? Because everybody plays a different part, and being able to display that in order to affect real change, to overcome their particular hurdle or situation. So that was Society of Step, and that was what we worked on. There were different programs that we rolled out, from voter registration to Hope is in the Hoop. And then the thing that Corey is referring to that I had him come out to is we had this big play called Revival that the vision for it was to have all of these dance groups represented, not just stepping, but all of them, and all intertwined within a story that was about resilience. And it was to show the beauty of diversity. And so Corey was going to be the MC for it. But the day of the show, we were under some severe thunderstorm warnings, and there were several tornadoes in the area. And the dance teams called me one after another, telling me they could not come to the show. So here we had this show that no one could perform in, and no one could be at. But Corey showed up, I was there, and our team was there. And we had the show still go on. And it was probably the most mortifying thing, but it was just so incredible. I think we had just a blast doing the performance. But that being said, so many people still wanted to see it come to fruition that a year later, I got a call from one of the dance groups that had to cancel. They called me and they said, "We're going to do this time, and we're going to make this happen, and you have to do this." I said, "All right, we're going to do it this time." And this was right after the Haitian earthquake. And so we put together this play, and I wrote the play, we put in all the different movements and cycles, and we had just a fantastic revival. It was absolutely fantastic. We were able to send money over to Haiti in order to help with their recovery, and everyone it was just the most beautiful display of all of these different cultures and dances and music, and everyone just had a really great time helping each other out. So
that's what's up. Marquez, come on, jump in, man.
Hey, I'm soaking this up because I'm trying to figure out who Miss Richardson is and what she's about.
Right.
Now a little birdie told me that you did get into singing, and you talked about that a little bit earlier. And I was just wondering, do you feel like arts is very important? Because being a county commissioner, you will have somewhat of an influence over some of the school district and things like that. Do you feel like arts and arts in the community is still important for our upcoming generations of children?
Absolutely. I think that art is one of the common languages. Like, people talk about mathematics being a common language. Art in all of its forms is one of the most common languages. It's something that doesn't require language, frankly. I was trained in opera, different languages, same emotions. And being able to make sure that we have that ability to express ourselves, that we have that ability to build, that's how we make those connections. That's how we find commonality. And I don't believe you can get to solutions without those connections or without that commonality. So it is absolutely required that we're able to embrace that part of ourselves and understand what extension of art do we have. And even with regards to the county commission, one of the initiatives that I want to put together is the diversity board. And the idea behind the diversity board is actually one that works. but there are a lot of diversity initiatives that just fall flat on their face. And I want this one to be economically driven, where we're able to assign a group of individuals that have the sole purpose of identifying unique communities in Cobb County. And I can tell you, in the Smyrna area, we have a very strong arts district. That's one of the recommendations I'm looking for them to come up with, to say, hey, we have an arts district, and if we invest a little bit into supporting that and the infrastructure for that, as a county, we can reap a lot of ROI. And there are other examples of that, but for the arts community, that's one of the examples that I'm looking at.
So here's the thing. I wanted to give people that will come back and watch the replay or are actually watching the comments live, watching this stream live, I wanted them to get to know who you were, wanted them to see your background, wanted them to know your journey. So it's not like you're just some candidate that just pops up into Atlanta or pops up into Cobb and says, hey, I want to just run. And that was the reason for the background. I'm about to play a video, and I believe that this is on your website. So just bear with me. I think you can see it, but you guys, I want you, this is one of her videos that she used as her campaign, shall we say, to say she wants to run for Cobb County Commissioner. And I think her slogan is Connecting
Cobb.
There it is. So with that being said, check this out, and we'll come back right after this.
Hi, my name is Jerica Richardson, and I'm running for Cobb County Commissioner District 2. Everything we do is connected to something else. Every decision we make impacts other people. Our governing bodies are not exempt from this rule. A way of empowering our community is about eliminating closed networking and backdoor deals within government. It is time that the school board, our commissioners, and our city officials all have a seat at the table when it comes to bringing new opportunities to Cobb County. This will create much needed transparency when working with the community toward our goals. I believe with consistent and accountable collaboration, we will be a stronger community, truly connecting Cobb.
All right. So with that being said, you're trying to connect Cobb.
Yes.
That is connecting the police, the fire, the libraries, the housing, the parks, grants to be able to provide funding for Cobb, zoning, small businesses, entrepreneurs, you name it. This is what you're trying to do. With that being said, my question for you is, where's the first question that I had? I can't believe I lost it. It was right here in front of me. What is your number one priority for connecting Cobb?
Priority? From a conceptual standpoint, it's just the overall cultural change of not being so siloed. Right now, District 1 cares about District 1. District 2 cares about District 2, and so on. And even our administration is fractious because of how we are assigning our departments and how we're doing our collaboration. Our school board doesn't collaborate with our board of commissioners. Our board of commissioners rarely collaborate with our city representatives as well. This also goes up the chain with our state legislators. So one of the key things that will enact all of the other changes that we want to see is to have that cultural change where we're actually coordinating with one another, collaborating effectively, and also with the community, because that is a big gap. When we look at some of these decisions that have been made over the last few years, the community seems to be the last to know about these decisions. That's not right. So this is an opportunity for us to change the culture in how we govern, and then all the other things become possible. But it starts with that connection.
All right. Well, with that being said, we just had a summer of wildness, shall we say. We had COVID-19 where everyone was stuck in the house. Then we had protests that took over our streets, shall we say. How do you plan, I guess, as the county commissioner, to build the relationships with the police department and the community?
Yeah, so it's a great question, because this is something even I battle with. I've been on the receiving end of policing taking too far. I have friends that are in that category. And we're facing a lot of issues on that front. It's the entire justice system, if you look at it, not just from a law enforcement standpoint, but representation when there needs to be some accountability, all the way to recidivism and restoration. It's a complete picture where we really have to tackle that relationship that exists between justice and the community. That being said, there are some concrete steps that we can take in order to begin to dismantle some of these systemic impacts that are evident. And it can't be found on a bumper sticker. These problems were not created that way. But it does take an intentional, holistic way of approaching some of these complex issues. So the policy that I have on that specifically is called the 3 Ps of public safety. And there are some other things outside, but the core policy are the 3 Ps of public safety. And it falls under the live, work, play pillar of the platform. So my platform, Connecting Cobb, and then the pillar is empowerment, innovation, and live, work, play. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to achieve is safety, stability, and the opportunity for significance. When we talk about policing, that's what gets challenged. Those 3 things. So that qualifies. For the 3 Ps of public safety, it's pay, presence, and partnership. When we're talking about racial inequality, the reason why I'm trying to make sure that this is a scalable thing is because there are other inequalities that exist as well because of how we think about policing. And so these 3 areas are meant to attack that. With pay, it's about raising pay for our police officers, those that serve on the front line. Because I know some that serve, and they have several jobs just to make ends meet. So the question that follows that is, what talent are we recruiting? And what kind of standard incentive? Right? So right now, their quota is tied to pulling people over. Quota is tied to throwing people in jail. And who do you think are targeted to throw in jail? It's going to be people that don't look like they have the access to representation, because they can get more money out of that particular individual. So the idea of switching the quotas, I'm looking at the quotas existing for community engagement as opposed to policing. So with community engagement, it's much stronger than community service in terms of the activity or the requirement. It's different, not necessarily stronger, but it's different. Our officers tend to do a lot of community service already. Community engagement is intentional engagement with the community, meaning a police officer can host a barbecue for everyone to go and interact and meet them and talk to them, and you get a chance to share each other's names. I jokingly say, we all want the Andy Griffith Show. But the idea is that that particular police officer is able to get reimbursement on that particular event, and it counts towards his quota of community engagement, which would qualify him to obtain the full salary or the extra salary or the extra bonus or whatever on that front from a structural standpoint. But the idea is that we change the quota. So pay includes all of those aspects.
Let me go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna let you finish your statement, and I'm gonna go into the next question. Go ahead.
Okay. Presence is, and I'll speed this up a little bit, but this is just a very important issue for me. Presence is about making sure that they're integrated into the community, but beyond community engagement, it's and affordable housing is an aspect of it. We have a lot of police officers that cannot afford to live here, so they transport here. That doesn't work. That's not good. But also making sure that we understand that just because you have more police officers doesn't result in reduced crime. So this is more about the actual relationship and the changing in protocols. And there was an internal assessment that was done on our Cobb County Police Department, and to many of those recommendations, we've only put in about 40% of those. I'm looking to have the other ones actually put in place as well. From a partnership standpoint, this is about making sure we're working in collaboration with nonprofits that can provide additional resources. This includes mental health resources to ease some of the mental anxieties, because officers experience our neighborhoods differently than the community does. And secondly, it's about making sure that we are meeting the need with the proper resource. So if a call comes in from a veteran, if a call comes in from someone with a mental health disorder, that should be dispatched along a totally different line. There should be a separate protocol for that. And that falls under the partnership side. So that is what I'm looking at. In total, there are a lot more other bullet points that fall under that. And like I said, there are even other aspects to justice, but that's the 3 P's public safety.
Gotcha. So real quick, are you a proponent or are you a fan of the public safety officials with the step and grade compensation system? Are you a fan of that?
Yes. So the increase in pay, I thought it's the first step to making sure that we have quality. Good police work is not charity, but it's definitely a yes. And was very happy when Lisa Cupid, who's running for chair, also championed that particular issue to make sure that our public safety officials are compensated.
Now, for the ones that are watching and do not know, Cobb officials or Cobb safety officials received a 7% raise and a one-time bonus. How will you guys continue to finance this? Because this is the next 4 years, and while you're in this position, I don't know what happened to you, but while you're in this position, you will be. I'm not sure what happened to you. So, while you're in this position, you're going to be preparing for the next 5 to 7 years for Cobb County. So, what is it that you plan to do? I'm not sure what happened to you. With you being You're preparing for Cobb for the next 5 to 7 years. What do you plan to do with that financing once it's gone?
Yeah, so from what I understand, the financing for that particular program is already codified in terms of the budget planning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
I'm trying to work it out right now.
All right. It's already codified within the budget planning exercise, but this is where I believe in, or it's like it's a, I believe there can be a strong focus in making sure that expanding our tax base, not increasing taxes, but expanding our tax base and getting really innovative about how we allocate our budget. I believe in true ROI when it comes to these budgets, that whatever is put in, that the increased revenue from it, because we're looking at, it's not so much what you have, it's what you do with what you have. So that is truly the opportunity on that front.
Gotcha. I know we're experiencing some technical difficulties. That's why I have you off of the screen right now. I think we lost Marquez, and I'm trying to see how I can get him back without messing up the stream. So that's why you see me on the screen for the ones that are watching. So please bear with us as we try to get Marquez back into the room. With that being said, I don't want to go away from the financing, but I also saw some comments that we needed to address, Jerica, in regards to
Sure.
Cobb County has a terrible reputation with racism, or for racism, and how it's growing with the minority status. How, as a commissioner, will you help get the police officers to even try to go above the call of duty and then learn the people that they police, shall we say?
Right. I mean, it falls under that pay aspect of the 3 Ps of public safety, that their pay is actually tied to how well they engage with the community. That is something I'm really passionate about, and I think that it can definitely get us there. So it's a requirement of the job, basically.
Right. Okay. Well, I want people to know that this is what you're standing on, and what you believe in, and I want people to hear it. I wish I can get you back on the screen, but I'm trying to work diligently as I'm trying to monitor and manage the stream, as well as
flow here. Things happen.
Yeah, it's technology. It's live streaming, shall we say. So I want the stream to look good, and they can hear you in the background, and we can try and pull the audio, shall we say, as we go with this. I'm going to pose this question to you, and hopefully I can get you back up and running after I pose this question that I have for you, if I can find it. With that being said, what is your budget and finance experience? Because you're about to be handling I believe, if I'm correct, you're going to be handling a lot of money, $132 million in federal stimulus money. What is your budget and finance experience when it comes to holding this position?
Yeah, the 132 is just what was granted as a part of the emergency funds. The budget's a little bit bigger than that, but it's about $500 million, about 60% of the other counties. But looking at, in terms of my experience with finance, so I actually did serve on the oversight committee for the SPLOST board, and that's our sales tax revenue that's attributed for our schools. You're looking at over $1 billion being managed in that aspect, and have had a chance to see what it's like to sit in some of those chairs with those boards, and see what those proposals look like, and provide recommendations or work with the community to analyze them. Even though the committee doesn't have a lot of, definitely gets a lot of exposure to the inner workings. So I won't be looking at it with fresh eyes, but I will bring a fresh perspective.
Gotcha. With that being said, like I said, the property taxes and the millage rate. Do you plan on raising those taxes on residents?
No, I don't see any. None of the plans that I have require a raise in the millage rate. The only thing that may be a raise in a sales tax, and this is something that's actually popular within the community, is a 1% increase on the sales tax. So this is more around tourism, any kind of purchases or what have you. But that will go toward transportation projects.
Gotcha.
And it would be the county would be considered a special district countywide, and we'd be able to levy that tax. Obviously, I think there still needs to be more conversation with the community, but as I said, this one has some popularity behind it.
Gotcha. All right, I think I got you back on the screen, so we'll figure it out. I'll be switching back and forth until we can get Marquez back, okay? Now you were lucky because no one ran for the Democratic seat on the Democratic side for the election this time. So can you talk real briefly about your campaign team? I had a great opportunity or a great chance to talk with Katie. She just seems so inspired, shall we say, about you. She loves you. She thinks you're a great mentor. Can you just talk a little bit about your campaign team, how you were able to grow it? And from my understanding, you have not only just you and a campaign manager, you have like college students, high school students, you got everybody taking a part of what you have going on. Can you talk about how you were able to make that happen and talk about your campaign team?
I can't take credit for all of it at all. I mean, honestly, they've been such a blessing. The campaign team, I brag about them all the time because they're absolutely phenomenal. And for me, it represents the best of Cobb. It represents what Cobb really is. Super diverse in age and gender and background, ethnicity. And I'm truly just so proud of them because we've been able to really scope out their talents, identify what their leadership aptitudes are, and do our best to make sure that we're matching them with things that things that they can do for the campaign, so that they can not only be inspired and contribute, but be able to grow in their own experiences, in their own leadership, and carry that on into the future. We have several that are interested in running for office themselves, so we're doing what we can to connect them with people and resources so that they can start looking at what those steps could be for themselves. And I'm really proud of the team. They are growing strong, and it is so much more than I ever could have dreamed of, honestly, so much more. Usually I come to tears, but it's really just phenomenal, and they inspire me, they encourage me, they keep me sane because things are busy, but they're just absolutely incredible and talented, and I love them all. I really do.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I have all these questions, but because the stream just got messed up, it really just threw me for a loop, shall we say. And I do apologize because I had some things for you, and I knew Marquez wanted to talk to you as well with
Yeah.
it. Can you talk about now we're talking about, we're dealing with housing and evictions right now, and a lot of people are in the process of about to lose their homes. And can you just talk briefly about how you, as the county commissioner, once you win, can you talk about what you plan to do to help those residents that are struggling during this time?
So the good thing is that the Cobb community, at least within the judicial side, they've been putting a pause on some of those eviction cases so that they can't be, they can't be kicked out in that way. So I'm grateful for that. One of the things that I had in the COVID recovery plan that I drafted up included kind of incentive for landowners or for landlords to make sure that rent wouldn't be a hurdle. And that would be if they offer a reduced rent or a free rent, that they would be able to claim a particular tax incentive come next year. So that's an example of something I'd be interested in doing, potentially putting, maybe investing some money, but definitely working with our state legislators and our federal representatives so that we can try to get more money back into the community, because it is our money that we're sending up to Washington. So I would like to see some of it get back here for needed aid for those that really need rental assistance. I know. I mean, I've been unemployed before and didn't know. I was relying on my unemployment insurance and wasn't sure if I could make my rent. Wasn't sure if I could find my next meal. And I'm grateful to have a family that loves and supports me, but that's not guaranteed either. So I definitely understand that it's just difficult. It's hard to manage, and the burden, because of the lack of leadership, the burden should not fall on these families.
So you are running against a gentleman by the name of Fitz Johnson. Can you tell me a little bit about what makes you different, or what makes you what separates you from him, shall we say?
There are actually a lot of policy positions where we differ. One, I have a very fleshed out set of policy positions. I also have a very comprehensive vision that I'm looking to bring to Cobb County, and that is that's something that's definitely different in terms of what we're doing. But one of the things to note is that
I think. Hold on one second. I think we got Marquez in the room, or somebody's got some feedback. I'm not sure. Is there? Can someone turn their volume down on whatever it is? I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah, everything's still muted on my side.
Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm sorry, Jerica. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. But one of the biggest things is that Cobb County in general functions pretty well. People are generally happy if you were to take a running average. And so what Fitz is kind of bringing to the table here, because I hear he's a wonderful guy and good guy. But it's kind of the same thing that we've had. And what I'm really interested in doing, as I mentioned earlier, my priority is changing the culture, changing how we coordinate with one another. And it's been one of the points of real frustration for our administration because of the mentality that we have. I mean, even that's probably our biggest difference, frankly. With him coming into, if he were to be commissioner, it would be pretty much what we have today. I'm looking at the changes. I'm looking at what's coming. I'm looking at working with all of these different partners so that we can truly be sustainable for the duration of Cobb County, so that things can be safe, so that things can be stable, so that we can lead lives with significance. Because change comes with it the opportunity to either embrace it or to run away from it, and it doesn't really work out for those that run away from it.
Very good. That's very powerful. With that being said, you got the election, and I want to pull up some numbers, and I think it's going to take a second before it comes up. Let's see. There we go. Let me see if I can get it. I got some numbers that came up, and Jerica and ballots. There we go. You guys had in Cobb County, if I'm correct, I want to get the correct number. you had 518,276 eligible voters for Cobb in the June election, shall we say. And out of those 518,000, you only had, I believe, if I'm correct, 187,000 that actually voted, and that's a 36 and a quarter turnout. What do you say to that person that's watching this video, may watch the replay? Like, what do you say? Like, to get them to come out and vote, to understand not just only the big election of the president, shall we say, or the bigger elections, but for your local elections. What would you say to that?
I think the biggest thing is it takes us being a part of the system to rebuild the faith in the system. We can't sit on the sidelines and think eventually the government will be something that we can trust again. We have to be a part of it because we're us. That's how you make that change. And I even tell people, I want everyone to go vote, but voting is just the first step. That's just the end. That's the beginning of the conversation. That's the hello, how are you part of the conversation. There is everything that comes after that. Knowing who you are, knowing your story, knowing your hang-ups, serving on a board, participating or volunteering with someone, being in community, being a community leader, standing for a particular cause, and understanding the difference between advocacy and activism. All of those things are the rest of the conversation when you want to see real change happen. Because I understand there's an incredible amount of frustration with our government because it seems like this thing that we can't touch or put our hands around. It's like an inanimate object. But you have to remember the government is just people, a bunch of people talking to one another, figuring things out. Some of them have self-interests. Some of them have more altruistic reasons, but they're people. And you won't see any kind of impact until you're connected or you're a part of it yourself, because then you can drive that change. So that is why our campaign is very open door, very much come as you are, and be a part of it. I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear what it is that you have to say, because that's what's going to, I haven't lived every life. I have not lived in every neighborhood. So there would be no way for me to know what I don't know. So I rely on us being in community. And our commitment is that we leave the community in a better place than how we found it. And if that means making sure that people have information, that they are empowered, that not only do they know who I am, but they know the role of a county commissioner, I know that's going to change their lives. Because when I found out about the powers of the county commission, I said, oh wow, and you mean I only have to convince 3 people? 3 people? How many times have you convinced 3 people in your lives?
Man, you're
That's
right.
what it takes to make a change? Just do it. We don't need these extra excuses for why we're left out or why we're not a part of it. Just do it.
Gotcha. So you're connecting Cobb, as they say. And my question to you is, one of the big issues that are on the table is, I live in the city of Atlanta, and MARTA is really big for a city of Atlanta, Fulton County, parts of Clayton, DeKalb County. How do you plan, I guess, in the next 4 years, shall we say, to try to build that partnership with MARTA? I know they just released a statement today about having some type of inclusion with Cobb County, but how do you start to work that partnership with them?
Yeah, so do know that there is a part of Cobb County that already connects with MARTA. To quote Lisa Cupid, Six Flags is part of Cobb County. That being said, I know everybody's talking about that Brave Stadium, the Battery, and getting a connection point there, or even connecting on the eastern side, which is closer to Sandy Springs. I am a fan, long term, of a real connection with rail from MARTA lines up to the Battery, and then commuter lines up to Marietta, and then tributary lines outward to the different community improvement districts, which were Town Center and Cumberland area. That's the 20-year plan, the 10 to 20-year plan. My 4 years, I'm looking at something that is affordable, because that plan is very expensive. It's about $300 million a mile, $200 to $300 million a mile, given the extra construction that would have to occur, whether it's tunnel or above land. Plus, we don't get the benefit until it's completed. So the plan that I'm presenting is a transitional plan that allows us to lay BRT, which is bus rapid transit lines, to different areas with highly trafficked routes, so that we can test whether or not the routes that we're looking at make sense, alleviate congestion, are used, etc. And it allows us to start laying that infrastructure so that when it's time for us to put rail, guess what? It's already there. It's just a level up to a certain degree. So that is the way that I'm looking at this, as something affordable, something where we can start getting the benefits pretty much immediately, and that works in line with a future goal or dream. And we'll have checkpoints along the way to make sure that we're doing what's right for Cobb County. So that is, but I'm very passionate about connecting internally and connecting externally.
Okay, Marquez, you got anything? Come on, you've been quiet all show, bro.
No. You know what? Jerica has answered every question that I actually had. I had a whole list of questions, and she literally answered them while she was answering your questions. So I really don't have much. I really don't. I just was trying to figure out is there a plan as far as helping to increase, because I'm an entertainment guy. So is there a plan to help increase entertainment in Cobb County? There's not a lot of entertainment in Cobb County. Mm-hmm. I know that the Cobb City Civic Center is not used as often for anything. And as a guy that works in entertainment, the one place that we do use in Cobb County a lot, which is the Maple House Amphitheater in Mapleton. And I was just trying to see if there were any other plans to make some moves as far as the entertainment industry goes in Cobb County, and if you had anything in mind.
No, I like that. I mean, I want to hear more of your ideas on some of this. I can say, with my platform, I care about expanding the tax base. That means bringing different industries, focusing on different industries, incentivizing different industries to move into Cobb County, because we have a lot to offer. So I am open for any of that dialogue. I know the other policy I have is with reinvesting in the libraries. I'm looking at those as true economic development centers. They also they retain the look and feel of the library, but they truly become the gateway to knowledge and access that they are supposed to serve in the community. And so I'm looking at maybe having sound engineering studios appended to some of these libraries, or we can start training up. Because I know when I was looking to get my CD mixed and mastered, that's a good profession.
Yes, it is.
But there's really just a lot of opportunity with investing in our next generation and the talent that comes out of our next generation. So, Marquez, you got me more on that list?
I have a couple of ideas. I definitely thought about incorporating something with the city or the county to which we can do something where we train up the kids to do those things, because there's not a lot of avenues for kids to go in entertainment. So many kids feel that they have to be the superstar, they have to be the face of it, they have to be the rapper, they have to be the singer or the actor or actress, the gem of it all. When there's actually more opportunity as far as the behind the scenes stuff that there is, instead of being in front of it. And so I was actually, wanted to talk to some people about possibly developing some programs and some facilities to make that happen.
Hey, well, there you go. Are you familiar with the Usher's New program?
Yes. Something just like that. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And for our listeners, sorry, I've got the Air Force Base behind me.
So that's a great transition, because I think for a lot of people, they do not know, Jerica, they don't know the full jurisdiction of of District 2, and from my research, I'm seeing that that's Cumberland, that's Vinings, that's Smyrna, Terrell Mill, Powers Ferry, parts of Acworth, parts of Kennesaw. So with you having the planes flying behind you of Dobbins Air-Force Base, I mean, it was only fitting for me to be able to bring that in. Here's a question that I have for you, and I know that we've gone a little bit over the time that I expected to go, but I think it's really, and I think it's two things that I want to really hit on before we get off of here. The Latino community is an underserved community, but it's one of the fastest growing communities in Atlanta, if not only Cobb. How do you plan to address those extending services out to them, whether it's 911, whether it's extending services to the library, maybe even job creation or growth? Can you talk a little bit about the Latino community and how you plan to build partnerships and networks with them?
I mean, you hit it on the head in many of the areas, from economic development. The diversity board is meant to help out a little bit on that front as well. There are some key areas I expect the diversity board to identify. But also, you mentioned 911 services, making sure that we have translators that are on staff. We're usually very short staffed on that front, and that, of course, can mean the difference between life or death. And it also means converting all of our resources into multilingual format. We don't have that capacity at this point, and there's so many resources that are just unknown by all these different communities. That is an expression of racism, of institutionalized racism. And that one can be fixed very quickly by making things multilingual. So there are a lot of different steps, but definitely, like I said, economic development, making sure that there are certain protections that are invested as well. We do have quite an undocumented population here. This is, and for those that are a little bit reticent about what does that mean, just think about the impact of COVID and what that means for other communities that are interacting. So we have to. It is our responsibility. And that we're doing the census properly, that we're able to understand.
That being said, let me ask you this. How can the community get more involved, or how are you being innovative due to COVID? How are you being innovative, and how can the community get more involved with your campaign if they're interested?
Yes, if they're interested. Thank you for that. Everything that we do is virtual. We have made a commitment that we will not be doing, and that this keeps spreading. And so we've made all kinds of things available, but I keep it short with time, talent, treasure. Time is helping us get the word out, phone calls, postcards, texting, hop on a call, share your platform, share something on social media, all the above. That's time. Talent, share your story. We have a Slack room. If you have an issue that's just burning in your heart, you can hop on the Slack room and talk to us about it. We can have a discussion. I'll do a one-on-one session and we'll come up with policy if it makes sense. And then treasure. Every $10 lets us reach a new person, overhead included. So we ask for people to do 102 for District 2. It's like reaching 10 people.
That's big. That's big.
Okay, and really quickly, because some people may not know what Slack is, I'm a part of Slack because I'm part of the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris campaign. What is your Slack room name?
Yeah, we should have links that are being posted in some of these stream channels. It's Jerica's Allies, but all Slack is a big chat room. It's a chat room where you can set private rooms and you can send direct messages as well. So that way, even if you feel scared to share your opinion, you know that you can share it in a safe way. It's also a public chat. If you want to just share freely as well, you can do that. So that's why we chose Slack.
I think I'm going to end probably, two more things and then we're going to end. Youth. How do you plan to get the youth more involved in the community? They don't understand politics. I think this is one of the reasons why we did this live stream today, because I felt like, they are quick to listen to the music. They know the lyrics to all your favorite songs, but there's not a lot of activities for people to do in the Cobb area when it comes to youth per se. It's not like there's the big skating rinks or the undergrounds or just like an area where like the skate parks where kids can really go. How do you plan to get youth involved in the community or providing programs for them to where it's a safe place?
Yeah, that's quite an opening. There are a lot of things that fall under there. I'll try to bullet point this. One, creating kind of a youth commission for those to participate. I believe DeKalb has a model that's similar, but a board of commissioners, members that are of the youth demographic, and they can participate in bringing in ideas and solutions and voting as well from their standpoint. Definitely encouraging more civic engagement with regards to debates, formalizing some of the groups that are already in existence, and being present in some of these capacities by showing up to some of these. It's harder right now during the pandemic, but after the pandemic, to be there in the schools, to be visible, to be accessible. And the last piece is around our after-school programs and community organizations, making sure that students have another option after school than just going home, that they're able to compete in sports, more intramurals, more park space with different options, making participating in recreational sports more affordable. All of those things, I think, are real opportunities to make sure that youth are connected, not just to the music or to themselves, but to other members of the community and other areas of the community as well.
That's what's up. So I have to talk about this because this is something that's really growing in the city, shall we say, or in the state, and is running rampant. And I know you kind of touched on it earlier, but homelessness. I know that's one of your you're a big advocate for homelessness advocacy, shall we say. Can you talk about your plans for that and how you can address it? I mean, in the city of Atlanta, you see them almost on every corner, under every bridge. I don't know how it is in Cobb, shall we say, but how do you tackle it? How do you address it, and what are your plans for it once you win?
Big question. Homelessness it impacts so many different communities. And there's even a study, the face of homelessness. Who's homeless? Because people tend to have one concept in mind. But this impacts everyone. It impacts people that even look like they have it all together. And so when tackling this issue, it's a delicate balance that we have to maintain. We understand that the resources of the government aren't infinite, and we have to be mindful of what's a sustainable program. But some of the things that I am considering are utilizing smaller homes, like the tiny home initiatives with regards to campuses with tiny homes. Another aspect is with regards to making sure that there are resources that are being provided, that we're working in tandem with the homeless shelters, and we do have a great relationship with Must Ministries right now. The Cobb board does, and so there are a lot of outreach efforts. They're doing a fantastic job. It's stand to do even more. I'm looking at making sure we are investing in nonprofits in the right way by treating them as vendors, as extensions of the government. And then another thing that we have to look at is the overall infrastructure and how someone falls into homelessness. It would be nice to catch someone before they fall and what that looks like. And working with families and working with the court system to make sure we identify some of these particular cases as well. So that is where I think we can at least begin the conversation when it comes to homelessness. Obviously, affordable housing will take out a portion. It doesn't accommodate everybody, though. So it's really, like I said, a delicate balance. There are a lot of different pieces to it. But I think that we can at least begin whittling away at some of the issues there.
Marquez, come on, talk to her.
I'm telling you, man, she's hitting everything right on the head. The few questions I've had, she's answered. I asked my questions that I had. She's definitely on it. I really don't have much to say. What I can say is that I would do my part to make sure that I get the word out to everybody in Cobb County that they definitely need to vote for you. I've heard a lot. You swayed me. If I lived in Cobb County, you would be getting my vote today. But I would definitely do my part to spread the word and to let everybody know about this great this great woman that we have running for Cobb County Commissioner for District 2.
Thank you. What do you think, you guys, how would you see increasing voter turnout and getting more people plugged in and involved? What will work from your perspective?
You're asking us that?
Wow. Of course, my answer is always entertainment. For whatever reason, entertainment is the thing that seems to attract everybody's attention consistently, no matter what. And actually, during the pandemic, yes, there's less live entertainment, but the need and the increase in the value of entertainment has gone through the roof. As we've seen so many people actually increase their brands and increase their visibility. So I definitely think that if we got you some high endorsements, that will probably help.
I can roll with that.
For me, I think that I think it's really more education. And as I tell people all the time, we weren't taught politics in school. Yes, you learn political science, but you only know about the big election. And once again, as you heard my opening, we're going to talk local politics. Why is it important? Is it worth it? And what people don't understand is you're going to be affected or impacted on the local level faster than you will with, as they call it, the big box election or the big ballot or whatever you want to call it. So every 4 years. So there's elections that are going on pretty much almost every year. And I think that the education from the pre-K level, just understanding what that may be, and then as they start to grow, they'll start to already know and understand. So depending on what district that you're in or where your voting precinct is, parents would bring their kids into the voting booth. Whereas if you look at other districts or voting precincts, they don't bring their kids into the voting booth. So it's really the education that starts on the ground level that I think that you have to do. And it's informing those parents to say, involve your kids. It's getting the school system to say it's not just only about curriculum, shall we say, to say, you know what, we need to take some time so they can understand this right here. So that's what I think. On top of the entertainment, don't get me wrong, I do believe entertainment sells, but Hillary Clinton got all the entertainment, and we saw what happened 4 years ago. So, with that being said, I think it's just really ground level, grassroots education. Proud of you with how you're able to get these high school students, how you're able to get these college students involved in your campaign. And what people don't even know, you're only 31 years old. So for you to be 31. I was trying to do my research. Like, are you the youngest county commissioner that will ever held that seat in Cobb County? I don't know. So I was trying to do my research and I couldn't find it. But the fact that you're youthful, you have the opportunity, shall we say, that if you win, when you win, you can now reach back to the youth and let them know the importance. And I think that that's what it is. Marquez, anything else?
Absolutely. All I can say is on November 3rd, if you are in Cobb County, your District 2 Commissioner, your vote should definitely go to Ms. Jerica Richardson.
And that's Cumberland, Vining, Smyrna, Terrell Mill, Powers Ferry, parts of Kennesaw, parts East Cobb too?
All of East Cobb.
All of East Cobb, and Acworth, shall we say. So I think that that's something that's really big for you. And it's just really just getting the word out. Maybe you can pull some of these snippets from this interview, and you can do your campaign ads on social media. I think I want to end. I keep saying I want to end, and this stream is going longer than expected. We really wanted to come on this stream, and we wanted to talk about: is it the music artist's responsibility to talk about politics to their fans? Not necessarily in the lyrics, shall we say, but do you think that music artists should talk about politics in their social feeds, or should they give some type of history lesson or education on why politics are important and how it will affect them? Because you're talking about not just your seat, you're talking about judges. You're talking about, senators. You're talking about House of Representatives. You're talking about, the mayor, the people that can really make changes that can affect you, shall we say, and your police chiefs. People don't know that, local elections, but do you think it's the artist's responsibility, if you're listening to your favorite artist, right now Cardi B's got the hottest song out, or Meg Thee Stallion, do you think that it's their responsibility to make people more aware?
I'll say two things. On one end, a lot of entertainers don't know themselves what to say about politics, and I think they're, if we're talking about a real effort on that front, it's going to be making sure that our own inspirational leaders also have that knowledge to convey to their followers as well, and that needs to be a concerted effort. And then the second piece of that is absolutely talk about the local. I mean, if you want to really empower your followers, if you want to see real change, you've got to give them the whole picture. The federal and the state, right? They cut the check, they write the check, and the local spends it. President Obama, President Trump, they could sign all they want, sending money to all these counties. But if it just sits in the bank account, if it just sits in the budget and it doesn't get disseminated, it doesn't matter. And the state does dissemination, they all do dissemination. But I'm just giving you kind of where the big money gets cut and where the big money gets spent kind of thing. So there's a lot of power in sharing that with your followers.
Gotcha. All right, so we're gonna end on this here, and I want to get the first thing that comes to your mind. Marquez has this thing called rapid fire. I'm just gonna say the first thing that comes to your mind. All right, so it's gonna be it's gonna be what it's gonna be, and hopefully you say the right thing. All right, here we go. Term limits.
No.
Favorite song.
Killing Me Softly.
Okay. Best piece of advice that you've received.
You can be what you want to be.
The best lesson that you've learned.
Nothing lasts forever except how you make people feel.
Favorite food?
Crab legs. Snow crab.
Yes! That's what I'm talking about. Now, you can't have none of mine. You can't have none of mine. So when you win, you're going to have your own portion, and I'm going to have my own portion, okay? All right? Yeah, I'm just letting it be known. Victory song on November 3rd. Got
Signed, sealed, delivered.
Who?
Signed, sealed, delivered.
Signed, sealed, delivered. All right, and here we go. Saints versus Falcons.
Saints.
Ooh.
Who that?
Ooh.
Who that? Oh, hey.
As long as they're not playing my Saints, I'm good.
Now, I'm not trying to be funny, but somebody might have just stuck a dagger in their heart right there when you did that,
I really hope that your vote wasn't based on who I cheer for. But hey, to each their own. I am a Saints fan.
So I don't know if you saw this, but real quick, for the ones that are not registered to vote, where can they go?
They can register through the Secretary of State's website. It's all online.
I was trying to have it pull up on the screen. You wouldn't happen to know that site, would you? I think it's sos.ga.gov. Come on, politician.
sos.ga.gov.
So if you're not registered to vote, Katie told me to please make sure that I at least plug in for the ones that are not registered to vote.
October 5th.
What's so big about October 5th?
Last day you can register.
Last day to register.
Last day to register. It's sos.ga.gov. There's no excuses. It's a big ballot election. It's not just local. It's the big one. So, but there's some very important people that can make some big changes here in not only in Georgia, but also in your county and also for the United States. So, with that being said,
all of our state legislators are on the ballot.
Repeat that again.
All of our state legislators are on the ballot.
Gotcha. Where can they find you, shall we say?
You can call me at 404-969-5116. You can email me at jerica@jericaforcobb.com. You can go to the website at jericaforcobb.com.
There you go. All right. And then if they wanted to follow you, I think I had it on the screen earlier, but I'll throw it up there one more time. Lastly, they said something about early voting. Can you talk about the importance of early voting?
Yeah, so three ways to vote. Obviously, there's the absentee ballot. There is an online portal where you can request your absentee ballot. It takes all of 2 minutes. You don't have to mail anything. You don't have to email anything. It's just a form that you fill out, and you get your ballot sent to you at home. There are drop boxes where you can take that absentee ballot and drop it off right there. You don't have to wait in lines or anything. You can early vote, which Cobb County, we have more polling places open. There are Saturdays where you can go vote early as well. The calendar is set, but you can vote anywhere during early vote. And then there's election day. If you're going to vote on election day, honestly, if you're going to vote any of the ways, make a plan. But definitely if you're voting on election day, make a plan. Take off of work if you can. There may be lines, there may not be lines. Someone may get sick. You never know what's going to happen on election day. So make a real plan if you're going to wait, if you're going to go on election day. So hopefully that answers everything, Corey.
Yeah, it is. Marquez, you got anything?
That's it. November 3rd. November 3rd. Make sure we get out and vote.
All right, Marquez, can you talk real briefly, if you don't mind, about the project that you're working on Wednesdays, to where the ones that are watching, they can, when they're not thinking about politics, they can think about a little bit of entertainment. Can you talk about that a little bit real quick?
Okay, so for the first time ever in my career, I'm stepping in front of the camera. And I am hosting a show every Wednesday at 8 o'clock on YouTube called The Untold Stories of Solar, where we take artists, producers, musicians, and staff from Solar Records, and we dig deep into the history of Solar Records. And this week, we just finished interviewing Wardell Potts Jr. This week coming up, we have the legendary Whispers. So tune in with us Wednesday at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific, on The Untold Stories of Solar.
And Jerica, any final words before I run your commercial one more time?
I want to say thank you so much for sharing your platform and giving me this opportunity to chat, talk, and really just have a great discussion. I really appreciate everything that both of you are doing for the community. Keep going. I don't want this to be our last conversation, by the way, Marquez, on this front. Corey, you already know how to reach me. And I want to make sure that we are moving forward in some of these areas because, like I said, it's going to take all of us. It's going to take connecting Cobb to get some of these things stood up and actually coming to fruition. And then we can stand back and marvel at the good works that we've done. So I really just appreciate the partnership. And I want to encourage all of our listeners to stay encouraged as we go through these hard times together and just to be inspired because Cobb County has everything. It has the talent, it has the diversity, and it has all of the challenges that come with being a metro county, which means we have the real opportunity to lead towards the future. That we have the opportunity to look at things through a different lens, innovation. That we have the opportunity to lift ourselves up, empowerment. And then we have the opportunity to help build a solution for leading stable, safe, and significant lives, live, work, play. So I am so glad, so happy, and just looking forward to the future. Thank you so much. Connecting Up.
Well, with that being said, she already took the words out of my mouth, but she said it's all about live, work, and play for Cobb County. Her job, she wants to connect Cobb. She's 31 years old, so she has she's bridging the gap between the youth versus the people that are my age and older, shall we say, and she's just trying to make a difference. So with that being said, thank you once again, Jerica. I'm going to end out on your commercial, and thank you once again.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jerica Richardson, and I'm running for Cobb County Commissioner District 2. Everything we do is connected to something else. Every decision we make impacts other people. Our governing bodies are not exempt from this rule. A way of empowering our community is about eliminating closed networking and backdoor deals within government. It is time that the school board, our commissioners, and our city officials all have a seat at the table when it comes to bringing new opportunities to Cobb County. This will create much needed transparency when working with the community toward our goals. I believe with consistent and accountable collaboration, we will be a stronger community, truly connecting Cobb.